No charts. Where did my charts go? I want my stinking charts. Here we go. So we're going to have some other members join us. Thank you for coming. Today we're going to give you the Republican view of the Democratic effort to pass $3.5 trillion, which is really five, through the reconciliation process. First thing I want you to know, the same people doing the reconciliation bill are the same people in charge of the border and fighting crime. And if that makes you feel uneasy, you should. They don't know what they're doing on multiple fronts. So if you're worried about inflation, there's nothing wrong with you. Inflation is on the rise because of Democratic policies are spreading inflation at a historic rate. And it's not like we're the only one that see this. Larry Summers, not exactly a Republican, said, I was on the worried side about inflation. It's all moved much faster, much sooner than I had predicted. May 14th, 2021, before all this other garbage. We're printing money, we're creating government bonds, we're borrowing on unprecedented scales. Those are things that are much more likely to translate themselves into inflation than they were historically. From May to now, we've gone crazy. So if he was worried about this in May, you should be really worried about it now. And let me tell you about the reconciliation bill. It's no more about infrastructure than I am tall. This is a liberal wish list. And how does it add to inflation? Well, spending $3.5 to $5 trillion is not a good idea when you have an inflationary economy. And this is not stimulus in the terms of creating jobs as we know it. Roads, bridges, and ports, there's none of that in this bill. There's a mandate in this bill to require every employer to offer paid family leave. That sounds good, I guess, on its face until the employer has to come up with the cash to meet the mandate in this bill. Guess what the employer is going to do? They're going to increase their prices because the government has increased their cost. And over time, as we increase taxes in this bill, which they will have to do, there's less money to do the things that businesses need to do, like to modernize and hire people. So this is a nightmare for American business. It's going to be a nightmare for American consumers if this reconciliation bill passes. It will take an inflation problem that we have today and pour jet fuel on it. And if you don't understand that, you don't really understand spending and the economy. And here's what worries me the most. They have no idea how they lost control of the border. They're in complete denial. We had a hearing today, and I asked a question. If we legalize people without first securing the border, do you think it will create a run on the border? I don't know. I know, and you know. So they've lost control of the border because they implemented policies that led to a surge in illegal immigration with no end in sight. They're spurring on inflation at a rate we haven't seen in a very long time. 5.4% increase in inflation this time this year compared to last. 4.5% in the core areas. If you're on a fixed income, a Social Security recipient, every time you fill up the car, every time you go to the grocery store, due to inflation, you have less buying power. So the enemy of the working class, American middle class, and fixed income Americans is inflation. And the package they're proposing is going to take it to a new level. It's going to be much like the border. It's going to explode because the policies they're pushing do not match the times in which we live. They're in denial about the result of their policy at the border, about how to fight crime, and they're taking an inflation problem and going to make it much worse. Let it be said that the Republican Party will have no part of this. Senator McConnell.